Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, and not just My Mom's Basement. It is the 500th episode spectacular extravaganza for the Mandalorian and Grogu. A long time coming, Clem. And it's not just that either, because it's May 21st, and you know what that means. It's the anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back. No, I'm just kidding. It's Clem's birthday.
Mama Clem, May 21st is when my mama water burst. Me and Biggie, 10 years apart, May 21st. Little did I know when I was coming out of that, when I was going to the delivery room in Mount Kisco, New York, that I'd be celebrating a Star Wars movie on a 500th episode of a podcast. I didn't even know what podcasts were then, and I barely knew what they were like 10 years ago. But I'm with my guy, Bob. We're talking the wars. We're talking Mando. 500. Bob, I'm happy you used extravaganza. We got to, that was the word I think deserves, for this kind of an episode, this kind of an event. And it's all shout out to you, Bob. You've been grinding this entire time. So this is a real credit to you. 500. There's not a lot of shows in Barstool history that hit the 500 extravaganza mark.
I think Anus hit it this month as well, which is funny that we both hit it this month. I mean, again, when I say we hit it, I think this is technically episode 560. I'm pretty sure it's 560. We hit it a long time ago, but we fudged up the numbers in true Star Wars fashion, and here we are. But it's also credit to Clem, because when this podcast started all the way back in 2019, it wasn't me and Clem doing nerd recaps every week. It was me kind of trying to find my way with it. I was doing MMA interviews. We didn't have Spin and Back Fist yet, so we were doing a lot of that on this podcast. I was doing a lot more kind of like one-off episodes with random people from the Barstool office. I did like a random Game of Thrones recap with Rhea after the finale. I did episodes with Rhea and Trent about me getting into car crashes, and they were a blast, don't get me wrong, but it felt very much like the show naturally found its way into the Robbie and Clem nerd recap show, movies, music, and it was always that. Like the first couple episodes we did Endgame, we did Infinity War, but it wasn't a weekly thing. And I'm very grateful to Clem for being gracious enough to grace us with his presence in the basement week after week, go through some shows that he weren't the biggest fan of, that I wasn't the biggest fan of. We've made it through some shit like Andy Dufresne, but this podcast is genuinely like a highlight of my week every week. I love doing it. I love editing it. I love reading the comments every week. People picking up on the little things that we do, the little stupid inside jokes that the podcast has. It is so much fun, and I'm so grateful to all the listeners out there for getting us to 500, We've
done it together. We've been through some great times. We've been through some tough times. I mean, and again, not us. We've been fast friends basically since day one, even when I remember you were the quiet kid in the corner before Dave, Big Cat, and Kevin were going to ride us for the Super Bowl commercial. It was me, you, and Glenny. And I'm like, that guy seems like a nice guy. But you were just, you were new, you were quiet. Glenny, never quiet, just always happy-go-lucky Glenny, right? And I'm pretty quiet myself. I'm not some, social person in that regard compared to some of the other people we work with. But to look back to where we were to where we are and all the stuff we've had along the way. And listen, I think that kind of builds, I say this as a Mets fan, like when you go through those tough seasons, tough moments, you're like, it builds character. I think this show, we've been through some, we started with Endgame, which looking back, we always say might have been a mistake because that was about as good a moment as you're going to have as just straight nerd fanboy, just gifts given to you. And we've gone through, I mean, like you said, Thrones was almost a mirror image of that, right? And I had the Thrones podcast at that time, which we were hating. Again, we were getting stones thrown at us for hating it, and now it's commonly known as the worst finale. And Art Imitates Life, we're kind of in a little bit of a rough spot right now without giving away, how everything else might wrap up with our reviews. There's a couple things that I think are leaving people a little disappointed, but that's the beauty of it. We have a full year. We have another half of 2026. We got some big things on the docket here. So covering them all in the basement for good, better, or worse.
Yeah. And like you said, we've been through rough times. We've been through good. You and me, I was thinking about it. How many podcasts have gone 500 episodes with no actual arguments ever between the two of us? Well, of course, we'll get into it about Star Wars, about Marvel, about shows that I like that you don't like, or vice versa, whatever. But me and Clem, what you see is what you get. We're not Mike and the Mad Dog leaving this and being like, fuck him, I'm not talking to him off camera. it is a great friendship here, Clem. So I'm grateful to you for making it through 500 episodes of dealing with this head case.
Bob, of course. I mean, the thing is, you just have to realize, who your, in this case, who your co-host is. Like, Bob loves what he loves. And you're actually evolving now, though, where I can see the glimmer has definitely faded a little from the eyes when every Star Wars was a 10 out of 10.
This guy thinks he's Palpatine.
We're starting to fight again. But listen, if we can make it through Last Jedi, we can make it through anything. That divided the entire fan base and countless nerds. It was like a civil war. We are in a great place, and until 500 more and super duper extravaganza, I guess will be the 1,000th podcast, even though it'll probably be like 1121.
Yeah. So speaking of Star Wars dividing fans, right before we started recording this, we're doing this on Tuesday morning, so we haven't seen the boys finale yet. That was kind of what Clem was referring to there, where we could be entering a weird time in the basement because we don't know how that's going to go. We don't know if it's going to be a train wreck. We don't know if it's going to lift the season up. This movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, I got it on the hat right now, just debuted on Rotten Tomatoes with a 58%, which is going to worry a lot of people that haven't seen this movie yet. People can be like, oh, geez, do we have another Rise of Skywalker on our hands here? Do we have another Last Jedi for some people that really didn't like that movie? I was worried about this because after we left the theater, before we get into like the spoilers of the movie, I got to be honest, I felt a little underwhelmed by this movie, and I think you did too. It was a movie that I went into with really high expectations, so some of this could have been my fault when we had the discussion on the podcast weeks ago where you were like, I don't know, Doomsday, Mandalorian, you don't expect either one of them to be like 10 out of 10s, right? And I was like, well, yeah, Clem, I expect both of them to be 10 out of 10s. What are you talking about? It's definitely not a 10 out of 10, in my opinion, The Mandalorian and Grogu. And I'm kind of afraid that the way I talk about it, people are going to think I hated it. Because usually I love all things Star Wars and Mandalorian and Baby Yoda and Grogu, all of that stuff. I did not hate this movie by any means. Like there's maybe one thing in the movie I hated. Like maybe one thing. On my list of pros and cons, I have 15 pros and 7 cons. I really did like this movie. I just didn't love it. And I expected to leave it loving it. I expected to leave it, maybe not expected to come out blown away, but my hope was that I would leave the theater with that feeling that I had leaving some of the sequels or leaving Rogue One, say, where I was like, that's fucking Star Wars. That's what I came to the theater for. I wanted to leave fired up. And I didn't really have that emotion leaving the theater. It was, all right, that was good. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. I thought maybe from the trailers that they were holding something back. Maybe they were holding back a third act. I don't know if it was, I wasn't expecting a cameo fest necessarily or a reference fest, but there's got to be something that they're not showing us. Because leading up to it, I was like, they're not showing us anything. Like, what's going on? There's no marketing material. Leaving the movie, I was like, oh, they showed us everything. That was the movie. Yeah, like, so that was a little, I don't even want to say disappointing. And I know it's a fine line between disappointing and underwhelming, but I found it more underwhelming than disappointing. And again, Thursday, I've got multiple tickets to see this movie. I'm going at 2 p.m. on Thursday, and I'm going at 7 p.m. on Thursday. I will have seen it 3 times by the end of opening night, and I will probably see it countless more times in my life. I did not hate this movie. I don't want anyone to take it as I hated this movie. I really liked it. I just didn't love it, and I left a little frustrated with some of the decision-making that went on like behind the scenes. Not necessarily like plot-related stuff, but just thinking like, man, first Star Wars movie in 7 years, and like that's what we sent out there. Like, interesting choice from Favreau and Filoni. They played it really safe, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that. I was trying to when the credits roll and you're kind of just sitting there and you're digesting it, I was like, I'm trying to think of like what word I can use to describe the way I feel, because I was like, I didn't love it, that's for sure, and like it had its moments. And I think, and then you said the word underwhelming in the theater. I said, that's the word. And the thing is, I think you're underwhelmed, but you went from, a 10 to say a 7. I was going in at about a 7 and I'm at about a 5. So I think we both were there. We both had different ceilings. We both hit different floors, but I do think like we both did go down during it. And I couldn't figure out how to explain it. I've been thinking the last few days for the pod, how am I going to like explain it? I think you kind of did. Like, I thought it would hit the highs. Mando was not a perfect show on TV. And it had its, was it the final season where a lot of people were really starting to get fed up with it? But man, we had some highlights along the way. We had some real high moments. I think the Luke, scene or whatever you want to call it was among them. That one battle you had at the end of the season, even just like the little cute Baby Yo things, those were some real high points. And they just didn't really hit any of those. It felt like even the Baby Yo moments we got were kind of stuff that would have been out of the show. Nothing really changed in terms of impacted the Star Wars universe before or after. And yeah, it just left me underwhelmed, I guess is the word to describe it. And let me know if you want to do this throughout the pod. So like you said, we were at 55 Rotten Tomatoes when we started, 55%.
I think it was at 58.
So 58, I think around 11 reviews. I've now got an updated number. We are at 62% with 52 reviews. So we could do a live tally live on the pod. We are now 65% with 57 reviews. And again, I don't really listen to the to Rotten Tomatoes with the critics in this, and sometimes I like to listen to the audience more. I mean, Last Jedi infamously had like the high number, and then it dropped, and then I think the review bombing started, so then it plummeted.
Yeah.
But it's just I kind of like to see how everything comes in, because I've been like sitting here at home. Obviously, we're buttoned up, not going to say anything, but it's like I feel like a lot of people are going to be the same as us. Which again, it's not a 0, it's not a 30, it's a 50. No. It's like I will probably not watch the full movie again unless I'm like with my kids or something. Mm-hmm. But like I'm not going to be like, oh, like there's nothing that's good in that movie. But that's the thing that almost hurts me a little, is some of the cool stuff I liked. I'm like, they could have just done that kind of stuff a few more times, mixed in some kind of Mando highlights. They're either Mando or Baby Yo. And I think you have a good movie in like 100 minutes. And I just... Yeah,
it was too long. That was a definite issue the movie had. It's like over 2 hours, and it could have been 145, which sounds crazy because I always want more Star Wars and stuff. And it's already, I think, sort of on the shorter side of the Star Wars movies. I know a lot of the sequel movies were like 2.5 hours, but there were definitely times where I found it dragging, especially in the third act, I thought, when we're, I don't know, even want to get into spoilers too much yet. We're going to get into everything in a second. But it definitely dragged. I'm curious about that Rotten Tomatoes score, though, because I think there's going to be a lot of diehard Star Wars fans who are very much in line with us. I think Ken Jack and Gooch, to a degree, were in line with us. Gooch was more down on it than us. I talked to Connor Griffin. I think he's kind of in line with where we are as well. He's going to be dropping a review this week as well. Check that out. But I talked to you about it. Like someone like Dave, who really loves the Star Wars universe, who loves the sequel trilogy, who loves Mandalorian and Grogu. He loves the Rise of Skywalker. He truly does. And I find Dave to be a good, I got a little bug in here. I find Dave to be a little, like a good gauge of what maybe non-diehard Star Wars fan would think of the Star Wars universe. Yep. And I think there's a chance he goes in and is like, that was fucking great. I don't know what people are mad about. I think a lot of people might leave this movie with that experience because it's just a fun adventure. It really is. And like I said, there's not really like in the Rise of Skywalker, when they're making these decisions, like somehow Palpatine returned, there's nothing in this movie that's going to rub you the wrong way like that. Like, wait, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Like, there's really nothing. It, again, just plays it safe along like a baseline good. And it doesn't really take a lot of risks. It kind of, for me, people might roll their eyes at this, like accentuated what I love about The Last Jedi, where that's a movie where they were like, we're going balls to the wall risks. And you might not like it, but like we're pushing this story forward in a new direction. There's so much not happening new in this that it feels more designed for someone that's never seen the Mandalorian show than it is designed to like reward the people that have put 3 seasons of time into this and have waited years for any kind of follow-up to season 3. Say what you will about season 3. I didn't love it. I thought it was hit or miss. Like the first 2 seasons, I think, are a masterpiece. The third season starts to lose its way when you kind of move away from Din Djarin, which, by the way, is never spoken once in this movie. They don't say Din Djarin. They don't say the main character's name in this movie, which I just found strange that they decided not to follow up on quite literally anything from the show. I guess in that the third season, he starts working for the New Republic, and that's really the only thing that's followed up on. But we don't get any of these characters that we know from the show. I'm not asking for like the big, massive cameos or whatever. We don't get the armor. We don't get any follow-up on like what Dr. Pershing is researching. We don't get any Bo-Katan. We don't even get a reference to the Darksaber. That to me is just kind of a bizarre choice. Like, you couldn't throw Bill Burr in this movie. People fucking love Bill Burr popping up in the Star Wars universe. And I'm not asking for Luke Skywalker. I would have liked Luke Skywalker. I'm going to be honest. But I understand there's limitations, or you want to sort of just not dumb it down, but you just wanted to throw together a movie that was safe and people are going to be okay with this. I just don't know where it's going to land on the overall score of like, where does the line be drawn in the sand between like diehard Star Wars fans and casuals? Because this movie blurs it.
Yeah, it's almost like they took the TV show. You know when like you get flowers for your mom for Valentine's, you get her the Aura frame, obviously that ad is past, that ad a deal, but still get her that. But get some flowers, and then they throw in like the filler flowers so it looks more full. I feel like they just kind of did that. They're like, oh, we have the TV show Mandalorian, and here's just a bunch of other filler flowers to make it a movie. Like, Disney told us we have to make this a movie and make some money for them. So this is what we're going to do. And we're not going to just continue the storyline from the show, which, again, would have made a lot of sense, I think, for those of us who watched it. But then for someone who's never watched it, they could just kind of plop right in. They get 2 hours. You kind of a vibe of what this is all about. You don't learn anything about, like you said, the main character or all the story behind the scenes or whatever. And it just kind of is what it is. And this is the interesting I found with it as well, that I think – if they had chosen a direction here, I don't think Mandalorian and Grogu is a straight kids movie. I don't think it's a straight adult movie for Star Wars either. And listen, a lot of Star Wars movies are kids movies. I think it tries to do both. And because of that, I think it does neither. I think if I had to choose one or the other, it's more of a kids movie. But I do think there's some parts where as a dad, I'm watching going, oh, my kids are going to tune out from this 10-minute scene, and I'm probably going to lose them here. And then they're not going to want to watch the rest of the movie, where there are some really good kid moments of just like action and stuff. And again, I could watch either. I still am watching kids movies. I could watch Moana right now for an hour and a half and just have a huge smile on my face. But I could also watch like, Rogue One or that kind of Star Wars stuff as well. I could love them both. And I just think if you have two quarterbacks, you really have none. If you have, a kids movie and an adult movie, you really have none here. And that's what that was kind of one of the things I walked out of the theater thinking as someone like, all right, A, am I going to watch this again? B, am I going to want to take my kids to the movies and watch this? And like, again, what is it? 210?
Spicy with that. It's around, I think it's like 204 or something like that. But I was watching it with kids in mind because one of my really good friends said, I would love for this to be the first movie I take my son to. He's never been to the movies. I think he's 5 years old now. And he's like, just let me know if it's like overly scary or if there's any creatures or monsters like that. And there's a lot of scary creatures and monsters in this movie. Like a lot there, dude, there's a fucking jump scare in this movie. At one point, I legitimately got jump scared. So I immediately left the theater and texted my buddy. And I was like, bro, it's your call, but I would give a hard no on bringing the kid to see this. And if your kid is a little older than 5, yes, I'm giving the yes, this is kind of a kid's movie. But
for the record, Robbie Fox once said that Black Widow was okay for kids to watch, and there's a human trafficking scene to open the movie. He told me to take my daughter as there's a bunch of little girls being trafficked. So Robbie has a high bar.
She won't put the subtext to that, right? Yeah. Like, listen, it was just weird for me to watch it thinking like, oh, would this be appropriate for kids? And I left the movie going like, if the kids can handle really scary monsters, and by the way, the scary monsters I thought were fucking cool. That was one of the highlights of this movie for me, is that it felt like the most like ILM tribute movie you could ask for. The planet designs, I loved. The creature designs, I loved. The new ship designs, I loved. I think the concept art department and I guess the entire art department, the props department, the wardrobe department, all of that, they knocked out of the park. Like it felt like I was in the Star Wars universe again. It kind of felt like 4 episodes strung together. And I know Jon Favreau has come out and been like, no, that's not what we did. Season 4 scripts were completely written and we decided like there's a bunch of Star Wars movies in development right now. Can we do something with these characters and crank this out quick? Kind of is how he put it. And he's swearing that season 4 scripts would have just connected more to the Ahsoka and Thrawn stuff, which I'm like, maybe you should have done that because that sounds really interesting. but it feels like there's almost like cutoff points for where the episodes would start and begin in this. And again, I didn't hate this movie, but I wouldn't even say it would be like among the best Mandalorian episodes. Like I wouldn't compare this even to the opening of season 2, where we meet Cobb Vanth for the first time and we get the lore behind where that Boba Fett armor has been, and then we fight a crate dragon. In season 3, we built up to a friggin' mythosaur on Mandalore, and we did the whole backstory of the Mandalorian Creed, the helmets, all of that. Have to go back to Mandalore to get back in the waters and everything. Like not even slightly referenced. You're telling me you couldn't write a movie that featured him riding the mythosaur, finally, maybe holding the Darksaber, that you put a little bit of exposition in where, sure, maybe someone that didn't watch all of The Mandalorian could have understood that. I think you could have got to a point where they would have understood that and it would have satisfied both fans. They just made the hard decision right off the bat. Like, we ain't doing that. This is for people that don't know a lot about The Mandalorian, which again is just a weird choice. And like, again, I wasn't asking for world-breaking lore in this movie. I know it's a spin-off movie and it's like a serial and it's a tribute to the Clint Eastwoods and the Westerns and all of that. It was just like, it might be the first Star Wars movie ever with no lore expanded on at all. Say what you will about the prequels, say what you will about the sequels. This is a more competently made movie. Jon Favreau knows how to direct a movie. It looked beautiful. Like, I thought it was shot really well. I think Dave Klein was the guy that shot it, who is actually the cinematographer that Kevin Smith went to film school with. He shot Clerks, Mallrats. All the early Kevin Smith movies were shot by this guy that went on to wind up shooting the Mandalorian show. I think he shot some of Ahsoka. So they took him from the team. It looks gorgeous. It makes sense. There's not like, I don't think there's a ton of plot holes. There's a few random nitpicks I have. But it's weird to try to compare it to the other Star Wars movies in like, I can't rank it right now. I just don't know where it would go. I definitely liked it more than Solo. I think I liked it more than like The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, but it's hard for me to compare because I grew up with those movies. I have such nostalgia to those movies. I played the video games of those movies. I had the toys of those movies. I had the Burger King Happy Meals of those movies. Like, I just have, and in my mind, I'm like, well, some of the most important stuff in all of Star Wars happens in those movies. Some of the most important characters in all of Star Wars debut in those movies. This movie doesn't have any of that, despite being, again, way more competently made. And I think like more watchable, it moves than those. So I think I would put it above all of those movies, but I don't know if in a year or two, my opinion on that will change if it ages differently. My opinion on this might change on Thursday, by the way. I might go in on Thursday with lower expectations and leave it being like, it was a really fucking fun movie. I did think large portions of this movie were really, really fun. And there's definitely scenes that I left it being like, I can't wait to rewatch that. But it's just, it's a weird emotion leaving a Star Wars movie right now.
Yeah, I'm actually interested to hear your take on, again, the second viewing and the third viewing, which again, peak Bob Fox fashion, which again, you had those tickets before we even knew we were going to get a preview. So that was going to be your first and second watches. But the fact you get a second and a third, and we'll see if I take, like, it's Memorial Day this weekend coming up, going to probably rain. And I was thinking about bringing the kids there initially because they haven't watched that much of Mando. They watched a little bit of it with me, but they love Baby Yoda just like everyone else does. And I was like, that could be a good, fun popcorn movie to take the kids with. But like Sienna was like, I really want to see that Sheep Detectives movie. I'm like, I think that looks delightful. And now awesome. Those reviews are the opposite of these. Those are just everyone's gushing over it. And I'm like, and I saw it's a PG rating. I'm like, this might be something fun for, she's 11. That's like, it's not like it's a murder mystery, but it's.
Bro, how is the Sheep Detectives taking down Mandalorian and Grogu? It's crazy.
Isn't it? But
it's like, not just Sienna.
Am I out of pocket for saying that?
No,
even as a Star Wars fan yet? And that is crazy. That's a problem. And again, this is also coming from someone that was like, oh yeah, Mando's coming out this year. Like, I just got lost in my brain where you were like, 45 days till Mando, like you had to count down, you're wearing the hat, the whole 9 yards. And I like how you said that you're comparing to the other old movies. Think about Phantom Menace. And listen, I tell you, and it's partially because of the hype and partially because of the movie, but there was no feeling I had in terms of a letdown more leaving a movie theater than that movie, because it was the first Star Wars in what was it, like 14 years, all the hype, all the marketing, everything else. And then it was the taxation and all the stuff we've been through a million times. However, it also had Darth Maul. It also had Duel of the Fates. It also had
Padre scene.
It also had the characters that you love. It's like, oh shit, 3PO's in this, and just all that other stuff. And you're meeting, little baby Darth Vader at the time. So it's like you kind of have all that lore, chock full of lore as well, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of the part of the point of the prequels. And the one movie that I feel like, and I was thinking this myself, the one movie I compare this to in my mind, and I'm not trying to like hate on it, but it is Solo, where it's like I do see like the bones of a good movie if they had done this, and maybe this. And again, I'm not a movie maker. I am nowhere near talented. But I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I could see how they could have made that a good movie, and I could see how they could have made this a good movie. And they're just not at the end of the day. Which, by the way, let's get a live update here. We are now at 64% with 61 reviews.
All right. So was that at 65 last time? And that's down 1%.
52. So I think we're hitting our cruising altitude right now. We're going to be probably mid 60s if I had to guess.
And I think this is sort of fair. Like leaving the theater, I said to you, I think it's like 3.5 balls for me. That's about where I would put it. I did leave thinking, it's somewhere around a 7 out of 10 there. So I think it's going to settle around there as well. Like, I don't think it's going to, I don't think we're getting to like 80 on that. And I don't think we're going down to 40 on that.
No. And so I do think the audience score, I think the audience score might mirror it.
I think the audience score will be higher. I do. But I go back and forth, like who's leaving the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. If I'm thinking like, it does feel like a summer blockbuster to me. This is going to be a weird comparison. And this movie I'm comparing it to is way better than The Mandalorian and Grogu. But like halfway through it, I was like, I'm sort of getting like Incredibles vibes in just not like the plot or anything, just like how fun it felt at times and how it felt like this is a movie that I would love as a kid. I would want every action figure as a kid. Like, so I think like the parents taking their kids to see the Baby Yoda movie and the kids watching it are going to be very satisfied. We said to Gooch afterwards, it felt like a video game at times. Like Mando gets a mission. He goes to a new planet. Usually the planet looks pretty fucking cool. He murks a bunch of enemies and stormtroopers. And then we move on to the next time. And you cycle through that a few times in this movie. It doesn't have much more than that. But if I'm a kid watching that, I'm like, this guy's fucking badass. Baby Yoda's cute. Baby Yoda still works for me, by the way. Like I thought he was not an issue with this movie at all. A lot of the stuff that I laughed at in this movie was Baby Yoda and was the Anzellans. Like the Anzellans are tremendous in this movie. I laughed at almost everything they said when they pop up, and I love their little ship. I talked about the ship designs. Their tiny little freighter. I've never seen anything like that in Star Wars. I loved all of that stuff. That's the stuff I'm pretty excited to go back and like revisit a couple times over, because I feel like even some of their lines you don't hear the first time. We're in the big IMAX or whatever. People are laughing. They have all those little lines that they throw in there. No squeezy, bad baby, horrible baby. So like that stuff was really good. But you want to get into, let's get into like some of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, let's get into the particulars there. And I've started putting together a winners and a losers list. But I think I'm not going to really read it because I don't really have like a fully fleshed out. But as you go along, be like, all right, this is like one of the winners. I know one of the things you're going to say is definitely on the losers list in terms of the characters. So
I'm holding that back, yeah,
exactly. You've been holding that. I was like, Bob said it like 4 times. Like anything you say negative, it's like 10x in terms of what normal people would say, because you have like the love of Star Wars. That's like a membrane around you that like stops it from like leaving your mouth. I think you just kind of like bury it down inside. But there was one thing that I was like, oh yeah, Bob hated the shit out of that. So let's go into the. I don't know if you want to do like a blow by blow with a movie, or if you want to kind of just like touch on points. But I kind of have just like. If there's anything that I have to add, I'll do it. But I'll let you take it.
I don't have as much a blow by blow because like. Only seen it once kind of already, like sequencing wise, I would have to really think about, but I have a lot of... Do we really need
a blow by blow of this movie? I think that's kind of the whole point of the
probably not
our gripes with it is because it doesn't really need a blow by blow. It's like, this character is that, from point A to point B, we got to point C, we got to point D.
It's like MacGuffin, the movie. It's like, we got to get a MacGuffin, we got to go to the next MacGuffin, we got to like, it's kind of the thing like Spaceballs with parody about it, I think. Right off the bat, let's start with this. The opening sequence fucking rocks. It might be the best part of the movie. It might be my favorite scene in the movie. Him on that snowy planet, even opening where it gives us a little text on the screen. We don't get a crawl. I like that. And then we open on that like Imperial Warlord meeting. I thought the comedy worked well where he like gives all the other warlords guns. And he's like, all right, like you hold it down. I'm getting in the elevator. And then Mando shows up looking as badass as ever. Honestly, almost like Batman in the opening scenes where he's in the fucking shadows. He's pulling people into the shadows with grappling hooks and stuff. And then he shows up and all of them are like, he went that way. Like, I thought that was really funny to start. That's great Star Wars humor. And then it's the sequence that we've seen in a lot of the trailers. And I wish we almost didn't see the one take, like John Wick fucking taking him down in the AT-AT. But it rocks, and it rocks on the big screen. It rocked in the Lincoln Center IMAX. It felt like the gunslinger energy we had in season 1. And everything looked fucking cool when he's on that little thing and him and Grogu are going down it, down the big like avalanche type slope. It looked stop motion-y. It looked super Empire Strikes Back-esque. I love that shit. And I love taking down AT-ATs. I was bumped up 2 minutes into this movie, especially when he takes them down, they explode off the side of a cliff. And then the Warlord, I've seen someone point out, it's almost like he gets in like a James Bond villain escape pod in the middle of an AT-AT. And he flies off, and then we use the AT-AT turret to take him down. Like, that was fucking badass. And a little Star Wars nerd thing, maybe the best like Star Wars nerd reference I got is that the AT-ATs open from the side, like the fucking old toys used to do. Which, like, I was like, yeah, the toys used to do that. And I never even had an AT-AT toy. I would have to go over to my cousin's to play with his, because I was like, I don't, my mom was like, I'm not buying you the big AT-AT, Rob. I'll buy you the Geonosis Arena, but I'm not buying you the AT-AT. All right. So I thought, like, opening sequence, it kicked off on an awesome level. Like, I was like, I'm strapped in because this is going to be fucking incredible. And then that was kind of, I don't want to say it was all downhill from there, but that was probably my favorite scene in the movie.
First of all, I appreciate that Mama Fox did have a line. I'm happy with somewhere. Unfortunately for you, that's a tough line because the AT-AT, you can make the case that having the AT-AT, the Falcon, and a couple other vehicles trumps any base, Genosha, any of these fucking prequel woke nonsense garbage. You should have gotten the AT-AT, Mama Fox. Nonetheless, it's still, the kid still has it in his heart. And like you said, little things like that. Now, if you saw me as you're explaining the first, because you're like, oh, it all started with the first scene. I'm like, oh yeah, how did this open again? Because I hadn't thought about it. Honestly, dude, I had some real high. I was high at that point. I was like, not literally high, but I was
a contact high. He was sitting next to me.
The vibes were high, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. Contact high. I was like, oh, this has the humor. That guy just played like, he just looked like a scumbag, the way he was
good warlord.
So he was a good villain. Yeah, good warlord. We were getting all the Mando pangs. Mando used the flamethrower, so already I was like, check that box off. I was stoked to use it a couple times.
We were nudging each other every time.
Yeah, that was really good. And then the AT-AT and the AT-ST down the mountain. Awesome stuff. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't know AT-STs. I guess it's one of those things where you just got to kind of make it run like that.
I think it's an AT-RT actually.
I was like, I'm definitely going to get corrected by everyone in the comments. I'm happy you did that before they could, because I was like, that's like a manual, like more of a manual one or more of like a evolved one. I don't know, whatever it is. I just love that they did that. The visuals, I'm like, where the fuck in the world was this shot? It's beautiful. And then the AT-AT stuff, AT-ATs are always going to make it move. It always is going to work. That was on my winners. All the Imperial technology we saw in these scenes. And this is when I say, like, you take that kind of stuff, which is battles and maybe a little more adult, but you put it in a kid's movie. And I think it would have worked. I really think it would have. That's what Star Wars is kind of built on. And then we just got a bunch of like nothing or rabble rousing stuff. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, he goes to the base then after that, and he meets with Sigourney Weaver, who also right off the bat, I'm thinking there's something more to this character. You bring Sigourney into a Star Wars movie. I was kind of expecting her to be the big bad at the end of it, because she assigns him the mission of, we have this like unknown warlord. We don't know what his face looks like. I want you to go find him. And I'm thinking like, ooh, this could be cool. Is she working for the New Republic? But there's an ulterior motive here. She wants Mando to kill someone that's maybe in the morally gray area. Maybe they're not a super bad guy. It's just in her best interest, and it's going to be revealed. Maybe the twins are fucking working for her in the end. Weirdly, this is all her character is. Like, and it's not a great performance. I noted it in the first scene, and then I've seen Kenjack and Gooch both pointed out. We talked about it a little bit with them afterwards. It feels a little phoned in from her. And I hate saying that because I was excited to see Sigourney in the Star Wars universe and everything. But it was just like an exposition dump. It was like we're sitting at the table with her, and They did the little joke with Grogu pulling the food, which was in all the trailers, but still kind of worked for me in the movie. I just love that little baby. And she gives him the mission, go get Rod of the Hutt for the twins. You got to go meet with the twins to get the location because they don't want to give it off, which already felt, again, like video game-esque to me. It's like, oh, really? You got to meet with them in person? Yeah. And the twins I was okay with. I actually thought they were pretty good for the most part. I like the twins as villains. I liked them in Book of Boba Fett. I like them in this, just like two gross Jabba the Hutts laying on each other. It was also gross when we go into, I think it was Nal Hutta, which is, like when they're in the little tunnels and they're sliding down the thing behind Mando as he's walking in. Like, it was cool. And I love Nal Hutta as a look, like the planet, new Star Wars look. It wasn't Tatooine-esque. It wasn't Hoth-esque, which obviously the first scene was. It wasn't Coruscant-esque, which we got a little bit later. It was completely new look. So like all good things, thumbs up on that. But Sigourney was that was her whole character, Clem. Is that not weird that they cast like one of the most iconic sci-fi actresses of all time and gave her nothing to work with?
I got her on the loser list for my winners losers. Sigourney.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Aliens franchise. She has the Avatar franchise. Ghostbusters, right? She's in the first one of that, which was a monster. And it's almost like her age is like, I have a bingo card and I need her to get in Star Wars here for me to just cash in. We need a Star Wars movie with her.
Yeah.
And it feels like that was all they needed to do, was just basically get her in and go through the motions, collect the paycheck. It hurt. I'm a Sigourney guy. I've always been a Sigourney guy ever since she was the gatekeeper. So
it even hurt with Zeb, to be honest. I felt the same way about Zeb. I love Zeb from Rebels, and I like that they let him appear live action before this as well. I was kind of expecting like not a team up movie, Mando and Zeb together, but I thought he was going to have way more to do in this movie. He doesn't really have much to do. He's the guy that picks Mando up from the missions in the escape ship, and he makes a joke about, I'm getting tired of being the one to pick you up all the time. But it just felt video game cutscene-esque. Every time Zeb showed up, it was a quick cutscene to get you to the next part of the story. And I was like, damn, you don't give Zeb anything really cool to do. He's got the one scene where he goes to the warlord's house or whatever, but there's nothing memorable Zeb does in this movie.
You said it perfectly. I was saying, if my kids watch it, they go, he's an NPC. And I don't even know if they truly know what NPC means, but they know how to use it correctly. So they kind of know. And I'm like, yeah, that was like, he would show up on the screen and then we get the wipe and we go to the next scene now. It's like, oh, it's all taken care of. And now we're going to the next mission.
And he's the one guy that we got like, oh, that's someone that we know. And they just don't give him anything.
Yep.
That was weird.
Not enough substance. Just that's kind of what it's coming down to with a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot to chew on. There's not a lot of meat on the bone. It's just, and again, it's not a plot issue. It's like a decision-making issue before you even started writing the plot.
Yep.
It was you decided we're playing with these action figures when we have a bin full of the action figures that we love, and we're like, you don't want to play with these? We were just playing with these, and they're like, no, we're just gonna play with these. It was just like weird. But we go to meet Rod of the Hutt. Before we get to Rada, we meet the Scorsese alien, who, it's funny, Jon Favreau voices the same species in Solo. He voices one of the aliens of the same species in Solo. I kind of like if this would become a Star Wars tradition where one of these aliens is in every movie voiced by a big director. And I think that would be kind of a funny, like, not a Stan Lee cameo, but like a through line. And I thought the Scorsese alien almost stole the show in some respects. I thought he was really funny. His little food truck, which maybe is a shout out to Jon Favreau and Chef, has delicious looking food. I think he made like a cheesesteak at one point for Baby Yo. He was putting like some kind of cheese sauce on it. I was like, I'm down with this. And he was really making me laugh. He didn't want to give away any of the info. He's closing the door on Mando. He's afraid he's going to kill him. I was like, this guy was weirdly, this 2-second scene, and we go back to him later, it was one of my highlights.
So as I'm like putting this all together, I'm like, that character and those scenes and just some of the like the grungier Star Wars technology at work with like the floating meat cube, and then he has the extra arm, so you have a different alien race, and it's very cool, and kind of the banter, which is fun. With that first scene, I'm still feeling pretty good right now. Like I can feel, I'm like vibe check on my like soul at this point. It's starting to spike. I'm like, I'm in the Mando movie. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
We're meeting these cool people. It's very interesting. It was honestly like, and when you see Scorsese, I remember I go to you in the opening credits, like, just fucking say Scorsese. You're like, yup. I'm like, what the fuck?
And he's pretty high build on it. He's like the third or he's like maybe the fifth guy on the cast list.
He's early.
Crazy.
Yeah. And at this point, have we got the Filoni cameo?
No, that's a little later, but the Filoni cameos, it was almost in Attack of the Clones when Jar Jar Binks stares directly at the camera and like waves. Like they cut the Filoni in his cowboy hat. And I know he's been an X-Wing pilot in the show or whatever, but like it's hard not to be taken out of the movie when he's like, "Hi, I'm Dave Filoni. How are you?"
I made this, and here's my cowboy hat. And he does like, it's like it wasn't heavy-handed, but it's like a tungsten cube. It's heavier than you think it's gonna be, right? It was like, I felt like a little extra. Maybe it's
weird, like he's the guy that you give us, and I love Filoni. Don't get me wrong, he's the golden boy, the golden child, as we were saying on the pod last week. But like, I don't know, in the Solo movie, in the background of one of the like card scenes, sabacc scenes, I think Aura Singh from like episode 1 appears, just like a random bounty hunter. But it's a little bit of a Rick Dalton, like, oh shit, someone from the lore. This one is like, oh shit, the director of the movie.
Yeah, very. Right after we got one of the greatest directors of all time is an alien.
Yeah,
right. That felt weird, but whatever. Again, like that was
a little weird.
That did nothing to make me like dislike the movie. It was just one of those moments where I think if you put that in like a great movie, you're just like, oh man, and they got the guy in there. Yeah. But you leave kind of feeling underwhelmed. You're like, and then that was a little odd, right? So I think it's all about perspective. From a certain point of view, as a wise man once said.
Yeah. As far as another one of our favorite guys, Ludwig Göransson, I actually thought the score was a big highlight of this movie because it was very different. It wasn't trying to hit the John Williams cues or anything. When we first get to the planet where the Scorsese alien is and the Rot of the Hutt battle is and all of that, it's very much like city-esque Coruscant, but not completely Coruscant. Has like the neon signs everywhere and stuff that didn't fully remind me of that underworld. Felt like kind of like a Star Wars New York in a way. I thought the score was fucking sick, and it was very like techno oriented, and there's a lot of synths working with it. I turned to Gooch right away. I was like, this fucking rocks. And then after the movie, Gooch was like, Ludwig, what do you do with that score? I was like, you didn't like the score? I love the score. So we disagreed on that. Did you have any opinions on the score, negative or positive?
No, I think there was one moment where I was like, oh, this is really good. And I was like, oh, this is Ludwig. That's right. But that was the only like way off the top of my head. That's the only way I felt one way or another about it. I remember I did like one moment in particular. And then obviously you have like the old you have like the old Mando cues or whatever.
That always worked when you hit the Mando theme for the big moments. That always works.
There was one moment that I was like, oh, that ruled. I'd have to watch it again and kind of have like a radar up to see how I feel about it. But I didn't like hate it. That's the other thing. Yeah. I also do feel like, and again, it's a different franchise. It's a different, it's a movie, first one from a show to a movie. But it's like, and it's a different story altogether. But man, when John Williams is like the comparison, you're just not going to win. You're just not. Who's the other guy? Hans Zimmer, right?
Yeah.
You throw Hans Zimmer in here, he's not going to win either because John Williams is my fucking guy. 1-1. Yeah. That's the Jordan. That's my Jordan. You could have your LeBron. You could have your fucking Wemby at this point as the next up and comer. But I'm a Jordan guy, and the guy ruined my life. Fuck Michael Jordan.
And then I wrote the fight scenes overall were a pro for me, and they weren't. It wasn't Duel of the Fates level choreography, but when Mando goes into that bar and he's looking for I forget the name of the warlord that we eventually get to, the unnamed guy on the card, and he just starts lighting people up, and he fucking hits someone that has the horns on the side of their head and fucking breaks that horn off. I was like, this is brutal. He was picking stuff up, throwing it in their fucking faces. I was like, this is the kind of gunslinger Mando that we got in that first scene of episode 1 when the fucking door opens and you see his silhouette. Like, I thought the fight scenes were well executed. Even the later stuff with Rada, which I think maybe you might have had an issue with, like the big Dejarik Royal Rumble. I like Dejarik being the Royal Rumble of the Star Wars universe too. That's where everyone comes down. Like, I liked that. I didn't love it. I wasn't over the moon with it, but I thought all the fight scenes were at least good in that we watched Ahsoka. Some of those fight scenes were like, ooh, they were looking a little slow on the choreography. Like, let's ramp this up. I thought all the fight scenes were good. They all worked for me in this movie. Even later on, we get him and Embo. We get the Hutts fighting each other was a little weird, but like most of them worked.
Yeah. So the bar fight or whatever you want to call it, once Mando's like, oh, they're basically doing the whole close lock up the bar scene and just kick the shit out of this guy. Yep. Fights back. Cool. That horn guy that he was kind of going back and forth with, who I was like, is that being played by the guy who played Arliss? I have to figure out who that guy was because I was trying to figure out the actor. I feel like I know his face from somewhere, but they're going back and forth. I was hoping that at some point, I feel like there isn't a reason that the guy in the car just comes out. I think it's like, all right, we've had like 5 minutes of fighting. Time to tell him to stop. Yeah. Come with me, Mando. Like, I wish there was more like he had, he was about to slit that guy, the horn guy's throat or something like that. And I just was like, why did this just stop? Are you progressing me to the next point of the video game here? Did I shoot all the enemies down? Yeah. And now it's like, door opens and you like go. So that progression I didn't love. And then my problem with the Royal Rumble, like you said, is like, I wish they had maybe done, I don't know if they could have done it, but those just look like a bunch of aliens to me. If you're like, oh, we're throwing this monster, that monster, and they just like, they were just kind of faceless. It reminded me a little bit of Attack of the Clones too, which is never a good thing you want.
Definitely.
To say Star Wars.
And I like that scene in Attack of the Clones. So that could be a disconnect there too. Like for me, I'm like, oh my God, this is like Attack of the Clones. And you're like, oh my God, this is like Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. And like, I'm not saying you have to throw like, all right, I know rancors are really tough. Throw a rancor in there. Cause I thought we were going to get one of those and they're going to give you the slop or whatever. But I was just hoping that they could have had a way to like, be like, all right, this creature is especially dangerous for this reason. And this creature is especially dangerous for this reason. And we're throwing 3 of them. It's like, no, we're just throwing 3 like wacky creatures that have different kind of powers, so they each have their little power up that you're like, oh, we got to watch out for the electricity guy. We have to watch out.
I thought that was kind of fun. Yeah, dude. I like the little electricity guy, the creepy crawler. This movie's got a lot of creepy crawlers. If you're like me,
not happy,
and you're not a creepy crawler guy, a lot of creepy crawlers. A few times where I was like, oh my God, you got to be fucking kidding me with the creepy crawlers. But I like that, and I like the scene where the electricity guy fucks up the barrier and then everyone starts running and like the monsters are unleashed on the city. Again, I was like, oh, that's a fucking fun route to take with it. But we can't go any further without talking about Rada the Hutt. Jeremy Allen White playing Rada, the son of Jabba, is my least favorite part of this movie by far. It didn't work for me in like the first. So like when we first see him and he's a gladiator or whatever, I'm fine with that. Like he's fucking jacked. It's weird, but whatever. I thought the way the fights were played, especially the first one where Mando just goes as a spectator, I was like, I could buy this. I could buy him as a gladiator that basically just fucking Yokozuna's people. He just like bonsai drops on him, and that's the end of the fight. From the first scene where we go visit him in the cell, and he's getting a massage, which I was also like, oh, that's fucking funny. The droids are giving him a little massage or whatever with the Theraguns. And he turns around and he starts speaking basic. He starts speaking regular human English in just a deep Jeremy Allen White voice. I thought, oh no, I don't think this is working for me. I was like, maybe I'll get used to it. Maybe I'll be more used to like, I should get used to it. It's a Hutt speaking English. Why wouldn't they be able to speak another language? At no point in the movie did I warm up to it. And it was weird how sincere the character was played. And they really wanted you to like feel for him and really like him. I mean, the whole movie is based on the fact that Mando likes this guy and decides, you know what, the twins, I believe this guy, the twins have an ulterior motive here. They're just going to kill him. I don't want to give them to the twins. And then, of course, the twins want Mando for that. And again, I thought like, well, the twins must have a reason. The twins must have someone above their heads that's threatening them. There's none of that. It's just the twins are met. That's the whole plot of the movie. Rada the Hutt just was a strange choice to dominate as much of this movie's plot as he did. Rada the Hutt, he goes to the fucking warlord planet with him where they're looking over the barrier, like the sand barrier. It's like you have the biggest character in the Star Wars universe, it looks like, and he's supposed to be sneaking around with you. He's fitting on the ship, and just the way he spoke, like, I think there is something special about the Hutts going, like, I want the Hutts to be speaking like I would read subtitles the whole time. But in their mind, they're probably, it's kids movie. We don't want kids reading subtitles the whole time. Just tell them, speak like I said the brother from Everybody Loves Raymond. That's kind of what he sounded like to me. And at no point was I like, you know what? I like this guy. Like, he's playing with Baby Yo in the water and Baby Yo thinks he's cute. It was just, if this was in an episode of The Mandalorian, I think I'd be fine with it. Well, he's the centerpiece of the Mandalorian movie. It never worked for me, Clem. I don't know if I want to say I hated it, but I think I hated it.
Bob, you hated it because you mentioned it again like 4 times before we even like left the theater itself. Like I'm talking about like the seats portion. Then I think you mentioned it 3 more times on like the walk downstairs because the elevators are broken, so we had to walk down the stairs, and that gave you extra time to be like, and Rada, I just don't get what Rada. And I do think Rada in a typical kids movie could be like he's not like his parents. Just because his dad was a bad person doesn't mean he's a bad. And he was the one giving the life lessons, and he's so like, he's a good kid. Talking about and like those are something my kids might have actually liked, but it just felt so weird in this movie where it's like, why are we just keep coming back to this? Again, it's like, all right, if you're gonna go full kids, go full kids. But it always felt like they were kind of trying to straddle both sides of it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not gonna feel bad for being happy Jabba the Hutt died. He was a bad motherfucker. Yeah. So at some point, I'm like, am I supposed to feel bad that I was rooting for him to get choked out by Princess Leia after he murdered a bunch of other people, was trying to murder all our favorite characters in Jedi? I was like, no, fuck Jabba. His kid, hey, I'm happy his kid worked out. Like, I don't want to get in trouble for this. But like, and I understand there's a lot of people involved with Hollywood. Like, is like an executive producer on this like an Epstein, and they're like, listen, just because your dad's a bad dude doesn't mean you're a bad dude. And he's like hammering this home right now because I don't understand why they were just.
I guess that's a Star Wars narrative, right? We're doing Luke and Vader, like that is, and they love going back to that's the poetry, it's the rhymes, whatever. But I think there's honestly a chance that it would have been fine with me if he just spoke Huttese. Like, I think it would the human coming out of his voice was really what, like, because I didn't like buy when this fucking jacked thing is like, I'm not like my father, by the way. It's like, I don't fucking buy this. Like, what are we talking about right now? Like, it was just, it hit the ear like a car crash. It didn't roll off the tongue for him. Yeah. It was just so, and then he's like, like you said, he's a good kid. Watch over him. And you got to watch over your dad. He's a good, like, I was like, what the fuck are we doing right now with Rada the Hutt? And I thought we would just, it's like, you go get Rada the Hutt, you bring him to the twins. Let's get on with the story. I didn't know the story was Rada the Hutt again, which Rada the Hutt as a baby didn't work in the Clone Wars. He didn't work here either. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Stop trying to make Rada happen.
I was just going to say that, Bob. Very well done. I didn't realize this is our real second go around with Rada. Oof. He's going to try to square it.
I don't know if that's a Filoni thing. Filoni's the golden child, but it comes off like Filoni's like, oh, who'd be great? Rada the Hutt. It's like, no, again, in an episode of The Mandalorian, that's fine. And it would probably be an episode that we would recap and go, I hope they don't bring that character back.
Do you think that's his square peg round hole? It's like we all have things that like we always try to make happen. It might be like, I'm telling you, Rada is gonna fucking work. It's just it's Rocky Maivia, right? It's like somehow The Rock did work. It's credit to Vince. He actually saw it through. Maybe Shane McMahon on this movie, because that would make sense. He's like, no, Shane McMahon is what Rada the Hutt should be. Because I see Shane McMahon, I'm like, that guy fucking rules, because he kicked the shit out of himself. He burned every bump. He never like just became the daddy's boy and took over the company. He tried to earn it. Seems like he's like a beloved dude, right? Is he a beloved guy in the locker room?
Fair, goes back and forth, but I think fairly.
But like, not like he wasn't just some nepo baby, and it feels like Rada's like, I'm not like.
No, he earned the respect.
And listen, Vince, bad guy. I don't think Shane's a bad guy. I don't know any of the behind the scenes stuff, but I feel like Shane's a pretty good dude, and that's what I should be feeling like. But like Rada was almost like cartoonish at some points. I'm like, cartoonish. Man. I don't. Like you said, he's sneaking around. I don't need to see Rada. Once he was like saved, and like they got out of there, I was done with Rada, and then they just like, no, he's part of the crew now. I'm like, motherfucker.
Oh, at the end when they're like, oh, Zeb's like, I got a uniform that'll fit him. What? You have a uniform that's gonna fit this fucking guy? And also, why do you want him as part of the New Republic? Sure, he's a good fighter in the gladiator sense, but like, what logistically you're gonna bring him around? He's hanging in that Razor Crest, like, or he could somehow fit into that big U-wing, like. Everything about that, I was like, you don't have to try to make this guy like commander of the New Republic. Like, he could just be Rada the Hutt and he could go live a good life on his own because we saved him. Like, it's so fucking weird that they were forcing Rada in there.
Filoni's definitely going to try to get him in a future cartoon. Just book it now. Like, is it like
that's fine? I think it'll work in cartoon, to be honest. I think some of this stuff works better. Like, if they release this whole movie as a 90-minute animated movie on Disney Plus, I think we'd be like, that fucking rocked.
Yeah, it's standards and the way with like the movies and like the animation versus live action works for sure. What do you think Rada's job would be in? Like, do you think he's like guy who opens jars that are tough to open and just like you can't have you're not gonna have a fighter that just fights people, right? Like, you need what you need a strong
can he train people to fight? But like, he can't even what is Rada gonna tell a fucking human how to fight? Like, hey, fall on them, they'll die. Yeah. And then they're fucking Carson Teva's like, I don't think that'll work for me.
And listen, I'm coming from a place. Listen, I'm a big guy. I know how I look. I was literally dressed up as Jabba for the first Star Wars video I ever did with this guy who was Slave Leia. If you've never seen that great video from back in the day, check it out. Us big guys have had every time Jabba's on screen, we're like, shit, the big guy, we're the big guys right now. I should be loving that Hutts are getting their moment right now on the screen as, hey, not all the Hutts are bad, right? I want nothing to do with Rada. And listen, he's jacked out of his mind.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. He's fucking like Baby Yoda's best friend. He did nothing for me either. And I'm like, fuck these guys. Give me the Hutts who are fucking
mobsters.
Yeah.
Hutts should be mobsters. I'm not trying to put him in that box, but like, that's when they're fucking cool. That's why I kind of like the twins showing up in Book of Boba Fett, and they come with like a gift for Boba Fett. And then in this, they have their weird fucking things where they're laying all over each other, and they've got that weird ass lair, and they've got the pit that drops out, and he drops into that fucking cool, it wasn't a crate drag. It was like that white dragon. Like, that was a fucking cool scene to me. And then it was like almost ruined by, this is skipping ahead a bit, but when they bring Mando back, and it's Embo. So actually, before we get to that, Embo scene I thought was great. When Embo shows up and it's in the rain, and you don't really need to know him from the Clone Wars. He doesn't have a ton to do in the Clone Wars. He's in a few episodes. He's another, like, Filoni loves this guy. Filoni voices this guy, so he wanted to get him in there. I thought that fucking worked. When we got the Anzellans and we got Baby Yoda, he puts him in the floorboard. He's like, get out of here. He's putting down the blinds. We see him come out of nowhere. He runs out, and you're like, what's happening here? Why is he come in just to run away? And then you realize he set up a mine perimeter. He gets Mando in the electricity. The dog gets one of the Anzellans, so they come on the ship. And then we're on a level where I was like, all right, this is kind of the halfway point of the movie. I think it was like about an hour in. It's like, maybe I didn't love that Rada stuff early on, but now the movie's going to kick into high gear. And I even like the scene where the Anzellan escapes the dog and runs into Mando's cage, and then Embo comes out to check on him. Like, that was fucking cool to me. I was like, okay, we're cooking now. We're back in like the bounty hunter versus bounty hunter vibes. And then when they go in and the Hutts drop him into the ship, and they take his mask off, and clunky exposition about what that means, where it was like, oh, we took your helmet off, which means you are now disgraced to your Mandalorian creed. They don't really go into that any further, even though we spent seasons dealing with that. Whatever. Kills a few of the people in the water.
By the way, Bob, it's so funny because like a lot of your gripes are coming from a diehard fan side, which is something I haven't even pondered. All your gripes about how much of the story they've ignored and how much of the backstory from even Clone Wars and all this other Mando lore we have. And I have to say, I'm happy that we're getting this from both sides, more of a novice and more of a hardcore. And I think we both have our gripes with it for different reasons that all kind of lead to the same thing. So I'm sorry, proceed as you were.
Well, it was just weird to me because when they take the helmet off, again, I was like, all right, we're cooking. And Pedro had this quote before the movie came out that was like, I just wanted to make sure that if the helmet came off, it was for a good reason. And when they told me, I thought that was the perfect reason. I was like, I don't know. They were just mad, so they took it off. Like they knew that would piss you off. Like that was the whole reason. Whatever. I'm okay with that. But then they drop him in the pit, and again, I'm like, all right, this is kind of like this is what I want out of the Hutts. He kills a few monsters in the pit, and then they throw him the helmet back, and they go, "You've entertained us. Here's your helmet back." It's just like, what the fuck? Even if they think there's no way he's surviving this, he's gonna get bit. He's poisoned. Even if he kills the creature, he's poisoned, so he's gonna die. Why the fuck did they throw the helmet back to him? They were like, this is our prize now. We're going to put it on a fucking shelf. And then here's your helmet. It just screamed to me, oh, we only had Pedro on set for one day. So get that helmet back on Brendan Wayne and continue. How much more meaningful would it have been if he doesn't get the helmet back in that scene? Baby Yo comes and saves him with the Anzellans, which I also thought was cool when they look down the tunnel. It's like, that's a big tunnel. Like the way they said it, like that made me laugh. They fucking use the detonator, which I also thought was cool when Baby Yo is fucking stocking up before he goes on the ship. He's like, I've learned a thing or two. They blow it out of the water. What if he didn't have the helmet for that whole scene? And then he gets poisoned and he falls down and Baby Yo makes the hut, which I also thought was like cool. I was like, okay, this is cool. We're doing I took care of you, you took care of me. It's the Ninja Turtles meme. Splinter. You know, that was kind of the third act of this movie, was pushing that. And how much cooler would it have been if the whole planet's mostly droids? So it's not like, oh, everyone's seeing his face, he has to kill him. It's droids, so we're going to kill him anyway. If he went back to the huts, he takes down those two fucking big mech droids outside, which I was waiting the whole movie for him to take those down. So I was like, okay, I guess that's the third act. I guess they revealed like a big battle there. And he takes down the huts and then pulls that helmet back up and finally puts it back on. Dun, 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 dun. And that's the big, like, I thought he should have spent the whole third act without that helmet. But I don't think they had Pedro. He's doing Fantastic Four. He's doing The Last of Us. He's doing Materialist. He's doing all these movies. It was just so bizarre to me to be like, we're taking the helmet off. Just kidding. And he's going to have it for the rest of the movie. I don't know. That was, maybe it's a niche gripe. Maybe it's a nitpick. I thought it was just strange. That was one of the only things other than Rada that hit me a weird way.
No, you sold me on that because the line does hit. Was like, you saw my face as I have to kill you. Now, if he does that with the getting the helmet back, this is one of those where we're making the movie better just in our heads right here. But you, like you said, and then he's like,
imagine he said that line without the helmet on. Imagine that was Pedro delivering that line, and they fucking panic and they're like, we'll give you a helmet, and he's like, no, I'm taking the helmet. Boom, boom, puts it on. Theme rips. I even wanted, like, we get to see Grogu, you know, strapping up with his armor. I wanted a scene where, like, he gets something. I didn't need Grogu to say his first word in this movie. I didn't need him to use a lightsaber in this movie. But give him a fucking shoulder plate. Give him a little Mandalorian helmet like we've seen fan art of for the past 7 years. Like, I remember seeing season 1, like, what if we build Grogu up to a point where he looks like this little fucking Mandalorian and he's walking around in the middle? Like, that would have been sweet. But, like, they didn't, character development wise, they didn't do anything for Grogu or the Mandalorian in a way where if they do a season 4, which I kind of doubt they go back to a television format, you didn't miss anything, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this could have kind of taken place. If you told me this took place between seasons 1 and 2, I would think about it for a second and go like, it's weird that he was working for the New Republic and we didn't see Grief Karga, rest in peace, or IG-11 or anything. But, like, it kind of could have worked anywhere, which it felt like a comic when they do, like, the giant size annual. And they're like, this is not part of the continuity. This is just a fun story with the characters you love. That's what this was. And then when you get into the third act, again, I really liked the stuff where Grogu takes care of the Mandalorian and the Anzellans go off on their own and they're like, we'll be back. Like, everything about that, like, it made me laugh. And Grogu was fucking cute. I liked the little guy he steals the fish from. He's like the guy in the rocking chair. Sounded like, he sounded like Dave Chappelle to me. It wasn't Dave Chappelle, but that voice, it just, I don't know. It had kind of a Dave Chappelle vibe to it. That scene again felt like summer blockbustery to me, where he's swimming and Embo shows up with the dog and the dog sniff him and stuff. Like, I thought that was good stuff. It just dragged. Like, did you think Mando is incapacitated for too long? Because it's a predictable movie. Start to finish, it's very predictable. As soon as Mando goes down, you kind of know where it's going. Funny gag when he builds the like mud hut, but it's not big enough, so he force pushes him in and he just keeps clanking his head on the tree. Like, that made me laugh. I really did like that. But we reached a point where I was like, okay, there's nobody in the audience, not even the kids, buying that this is the end of The Mandalorian. And after all of this nurse duties that Grogu is doing, like, he's not just going to flatline and die at the end. Like, we already saw him fighting the mech droids in the trailer. So let's get to that. Like, did you feel like this part was dragging?
Oh yeah, no, this was a big part of like, kind of, and again, it's at the end of the movie or later in the movie, so it's going to leave a worse taste in your mouth. So first he gets poisoned, right? And it's like kind of mentioned, and you're like, We're gonna do the poison thing now. All right. Well, and I was thinking Oberyn uses poison in Game of Thrones, right? To the mountain in the battle. So I thought that was a good twist, or a good, not twist, but more so I was like, oh, that was obviously Pascal in another role using.
And Grogu in season 1, they show like his special force ability is that he could heal.
He could heal.
So it's like, oh, we're kind of like repeating that.
And then again, my dumb like IMDb brain, I'm like, this is like when Joel is in Last of Us healing in the house, right, by himself. So I'm just going through all these different, and again, this is Pedro Pascal. He's playing every role in every movie, so I'm just seeing him, even if he has a mask on for some of the time. I'm just seeing him with all this stuff, and the helmet hitting. It was like getting close to Family Guy, where I was like, it's gonna get old, but then it's gonna get funny again. And also, did you notice how it kind of looked like Yoda's hut? And I thought that was cool because they're both the same kind of creature. I was like, is this just
and it's swampy? Yeah, the area where they're in of Nal Hutta is very swampy, and I thought that was cool. Even there's a scene where he's meditating. Grogu's on the log meditating, and I'm thinking like, oh shit, is he calling someone? Is he doing that thing he did where he's calling out to someone? Nah, he's just meditating.
Yeah, all that, and I'm like, they're just not gonna kill him with poison, and then the solution to the poison is the guy being, oh yeah, your buddy who I know you have, even though I've never seen him, take this, and I was just like, I
kind of like that, if I'm being honest. Like I agree with it was weird that he's just like willing to be like, oh yeah, here you go. But when they're actually like, he's making like a little food concoction, I was kind of like, all right, another cool use of food in the Star Wars universe. They should have those available at like Galaxy's Edge. They should be filled with like, it should be like an emergency type thing. Like it should be filled with vitamins. Yeah. For the parents that are a little hungover.
I like that. But like, I don't know. When he was just on the rocking chair and he had his fish on the line, I kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I just like the alien, but I was like, oh, I kind of like the scene we're in right now. But I was like, everything else that's going on, I really just don't like right now. And they're like looking for him. Obviously, he's like playing it coy with the Empire, whatever. So man, this is what I'm kind of like. This just isn't going to be what I was hoping it's going to be, but I'm not shocked. This is where we went. So I would say this was not a good part for like my whole vibe of the movie. This is kind of when everything fell off the cliff.
For me, it did end on a good note. Like when he gets back to the temple that they're in and he fights those 2 mech droids and Grogu goes Ant-Man on him and he's inside fucking unplugging shit like Tony Stark and Ant-Man. Like I liked all of that. I liked the way they looked stop motion centric and everything. ILM fucking crushed it. Goes into the huts, has a badass moment with them where he has Grogu go to free Rada, who's being like tortured. And also, like, again, I'm like, I don't really feel sympathetic for fucking Batista, Jabba the Hutt in the fucking
Batista the Hutt. I like that.
And then when he fights Embo, they kind of do this camera pan around that made it look very like samurai-esque, which I thought that was fucking cool too. Because we go back to the ship that brought Rada there, and he stocks up. That's where the jump scare happens on the ship, where there's like that fucking scary monster that pops up. So I thought that was cool. He stocks up on, he has one of his old rifles from season 1, like the old pulse rifle. So that was all cool. The Hutts fighting was what it was. I kind of like the scene where they fall into the pit and it's like, all right, now, meet your doom with the monster you were sending everyone to. And then Grogu lifting Rada, maybe that was the only Rada scene that kind of worked for me. Like Grogu showing a big use of force there. He's at least leveled up to the point where he doesn't need an immediate nap after that stuff anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
So he was not napping at all in this movie. So they tried to level him up a little bit. He's jumping around a little more.
Or they just didn't want to explain that he has to nap after it. Because, again,
it might have been that.
Honestly. Relation to the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that worked for me when he lifts him up. You get Embo, you get the twins, and then the X-Wing assault, I also thought was cool. I just like X-Wing assaults. When you bring that in, you show us the targeting computer that the targeting computer itself might be like a glup shitto at this point. It makes me go, ooh, look at the targeting computer. There it is. And them like jumping out. They have to jump out before we explode the whole thing. He's like, just fire on my fucking location. Like, I liked that. Again, fucking Batista the Hutt jumping out looked silly. I wish he just wasn't in the story at this point. But we go back to the base, and that's where you get the scene where they're like, we're gonna we're going to stick around. We're going to have Rod of the Hutt join the New Republic. And then you go up in the ship and they close the loop with when he gets the new Razor Crest in the beginning of the movie, which again was almost like the Razor Crest got destroyed, but we're going to open the movie by being like, hey, as a thank you, here's a brand new off the line Razor Crest. It's yellow now, which it was cool. I thought it looked cool. But there's part of me that was like, he's got that cool N1 Starfighter in the back. Yeah. It's in his driveway. I'm looking at it. I love that thing. But I guess Rod of the Hutt can't fit in it, so he can't fucking use that cool ship in this movie. It was a little bit like, I don't know. But you close the loop with him telling Grogu, don't touch the buttons in the beginning, to at the end, him being like, hey, you could touch some of these buttons. I think it would have benefited from, and I know people roll their eyes at the Darth Maul cameo in Solo, because they're like, it felt almost like they knew this movie was going to be, I don't know how people are going to think about this. Throw Darth Maul in at the end. That'll like leave them with a good, like, oh, what is that going to lead to? And some people think it was just because they didn't want to break the rule of a Star Wars movie where no lightsabers were ignited, which this one obviously breaks that rule. I think it would have been kind of cool if he got like a transmission at the very end and it's from Ahsoka and she says something about Thrawn. You give us the Joker card at the end of Batman Begins of like, and this world is a little bigger. Like, stay tuned. It doesn't have to lead to another movie. It could lead to Ahsoka season 2. We know that's coming next year or whatever. It was just like, movie ended and I went, oh, that was fun. That was a fun adventure we went on with those characters that I love. And that really helps as well, where like, I just love spending time with the Mandalorian and Grogu, and they worked for me in this movie. But I would have loved if we left with even the same emotion that we left the season 2 finale with Luke. Like, again, it just felt like the TV show has given us huge lore implications and characters and hints towards possibly even what the sequel trilogy led to. We're doing cloning experiments. We're doing Force experiments, all of that. And this movie was just, I don't want to say it didn't matter, but it almost didn't matter. And it was just meant for fun. And it was the choice they made going in. It wasn't like a failure. It wasn't, they tried to make it matter and it didn't. It was just, they decided this is almost like a movie for the kids and the casual fans that hopefully the diehard fans enjoy.
That's probably the best way to put it. Which, I mean, again, I wouldn't even say it's a kids movie in terms of like your typical kids movies, but it does feel like a casual movie.
It's like the most kids Star Wars movie, at least.
Yes, honestly,
no other Star Wars movie feels as much like a kids movie.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the Super Bowl commercial now makes a lot more sense. That was a good way to say what we were getting in this movie, right? It's like, oh, him, he's so cute, and it's Star Wars. It's not regular stuff, and
it banks on your love of the characters going in, because it's not like I left this movie going like, man, I love Grogu so much more now, or like, man, like I never saw that side of the Mandalorian. I like him even more. Like I like them the same. I liked them a couple years ago, but it's been years of us waiting for a follow up on the characters. Like I would have liked you to push something forward, anything forward. Show us Grogu like really advancing in his skills if you want to do that. It's been years. You could say it's been years since season 3 in Universe, but they didn't do that even.
Yep. And honestly, Bob, I think you're almost asking, like, there was like the feeling we had after the Luke episode. I'm not even asking for anything close to that. I'm basically taking the feelings from the end of the Luke episode, add the feelings of the end of season 3, which I think everyone was disappointed about.
Yeah.
Put them together, divide by 2, and you're just right in the middle there. I would have taken that, and I don't think we even got that, unfortunately. Again, the X-Wing and Y-Wing scenes and all kind of the Star Wars pangs you're hitting, add that in with the AT-AT, ATRT, and all that stuff in the beginning. Those were the things I liked. That was another winner I had, was all the technology, and especially if you're evolving to whatever the next set is going to be, because, we're now a few years after, obviously, New Hope at the very least, and then after Jedi. So
yeah,
it's just, we just didn't get either. The Alderaan dude was around again.
I know, yeah. Carson Teva, as soon as he popped up, I felt like there was like a collective laugh, at least among you, me, Kenjack, and Gooch, because we can never let that go. Him looking at Cara Dune, Gina Carano, who, shout out, she said, the Mandalorian's having a big week. I'm having a big week. I'm returning to MMA after 17 years, and she lasted about 17 seconds.
Cash that check, girl. Cash that check. She looks great. Shout out Gina Carano.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushing. Did she win her lawsuit with Disney? Because if so, she's getting.
I think
really
she got
big.
a settlement.
Okay, so hey, that
yeah.
bank account's looking healthy. And again, 17 seconds of work in the octagon, you can only do so much damage to your health, right? So I shout out to me too,
damage. Yeah,
who forgot all about the fight because I was gonna watch it. I would have been. I mean, what time did it go off, Bob? 12:30.
Yeah,
I would have been furious if I had stayed up for that.
Stayed up.
Shout out to me for falling asleep and forgetting all about it. Yeah, I mean, I guess was this better or worse than that fight? I'd say this was better than that fight, right?
It was way better than the fight. Like the fight I'll never rewatch, even though it was 17 seconds. Like this, again, like I know I'm way more down on this movie than I have been for other Star Wars movies, but it's just because it's on that good path. For me, it was a good movie. I would say like, I wouldn't say very good. I would say it was just a good movie. And I wanted it to be a fantastic, blow me away movie. So I went in with expectations too high, I think I wanted a movie that they never even promised us. I was just holding out hope that they're holding something back in that third act. And again, I just keep going back to like the TV show had all of these characters and all of this lore, and it seemed like it mattered so much. It felt like I was staying up mid-season sometimes till 3 a.m. because I was like, bro, we saw Pershing is going to be in this episode. They're going to reveal something about how the Emperor did this. And it's just like the movie said, no, that's not what we're doing here. So I said 3.5 balls. I'm sticking with that. Where are you on the ball scale with this?
It's not that kind of movie, kid, right?
It's not. It's just not. And I expected it to be that. And I look, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying minus 200 that I go in on Thursday and I leave on Thursday night after the third time I see it and go, that's a really good movie. I really fucking like that movie. Like, I think I'm going to warm up to it and warm up because even Solo is my least favorite Star Wars movie. I definitely like this better than Solo. Like, I can throw Solo on and have a good time with it because I fucking love these characters and I love this world. It's my favorite cinematic world to spend time in. So I'm not down on it. It's a 3.5 out of 5. It's just, I wish it was higher.
Yep. And we're always talking G words, good, great, and what that means and making sure we use it the right way. The fact you're just saying good kind of lets you know where I'm going to be at. I'm going to say all right. It's an all right movie. This is also coming. You're the guy who loves all the Star Wars and you find the good in all of them and you love it and build it all up. I'm the guy who says I think there's more bad Star Wars movies than good Star Wars movies at this point. And I think the original trilogy and Force Awakens and Rogue One are the good to great, and everything else is all right to bad. So as someone that comes in with that, I'm like, I can live it. It is what it is. Again, it's the Skywalker saga is the Emperor saga. And people are hoping they retcon the sequel trilogy. I hated the prequel trilogy and I love the original trilogy. That's just where I stand. And I know people are going to feel different about those. I know people are going to feel different about this. There are going to be people who are like, you guys didn't fucking love that? That was not 2 hours of this. It's like, fine, teach their own. This one, I said 2 out of 5 when I left. Staying 2 out of 5 now.
2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
That's you're going below 50% on your Rotten Tomatoes score.
Did I say 2.5? I might have said 2.5. I think I said 2.5.
I think you might have, yeah.
I think I
was going to say I don't think it was a below average movie. I think it was just average to good.
It was fine. I'm 2.5, and I've just refreshed the Rotten Tomatoes as of now. We are now at 72 reviews at 64%, which is basically right between our two.
Going to stick around there, yeah.
Which I think is what it'll end up with, at least for the critics. And I do expect the audience to be higher. I
do too, because people, every time I bring up Solo being my least favorite Star Wars movie, people can't believe that. Like, people are like, what? Solo is so underrated. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, are people going to be more down on this than Solo, the general fan? I don't think so.
No,
I think it's better.
I definitely think so. I have to rewatch Solo too at some point and just say, I mean, I think I'll be able to make it the whole time, but I feel like I might be a little tough on it because at that point I was thinking, oh, Star Wars, this is going to be good. It's going to be good. At this point, it's like, it's just not for me, whatever. Again, The Last Jedi really did like open my eyes to, hey, you could see the same movie and have a completely different opinion of it. It's the dresses. I've said that a million times. My question to you is this now. If this movie was a fast food item, what would it be?
Oh my God. I didn't pre-plan.
You don't have it ready? All right. I'll give you want mine?
I think I have mine actually already.
Here's then.
I'm going to go with the Taco Bell chicken nuggets. I had the Taco Bell chicken nuggets. Yeah. And I think I might've used this before. I don't know what I used it for. I think I might've, because I think we talked about them on the pod at some point. I went with Glenny Balls the first week they were unveiled, we said, let's take a walk down the block. We got a Taco Bell a few blocks away from the office. Let's get those chicken nuggets. And I had them and I went, those are pretty good. I don't know what I expected, but they're pretty good. And I don't think I've gotten them since. I think they're just fine.
They're fine. Mine is, so it's actually, sometimes with these reviews, we have to go in like the timelines of when, because fast food items change throughout time, even the same item. And for me, this is this Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich about a year ago. I had it about a year ago. And listen, the spicy chicken sandwich was my number 2 item at Wendy's for years. It was the burgers were 1, and then the spicy chicken sandwich was 2. And then I had it about a year ago. I had the spicy chicken sandwich. I hadn't had in years. I've just kind of gotten out of Wendy's because I don't really like what the burgers like these days. And then I had the spicy chicken. I go, I don't really like the spicy chicken sandwich anymore. Like it's not as meaty. The flavors are a little off. I'm sure everything's cheaper now. It's just kind of the way that a lot of fast food restaurants are going. They're taking shortcuts, and you taste every shortcut that they've taken. I tell you, my guy Dave Thomas, when he was in charge, quality. I think times have changed now that Dave is gone, unfortunately. And that's kind of like, I'm kind of looking at old Mando. It was kind of the old spicy chicken sandwich, the TV show. And this Mando is kind of like, oh, it says it's Mando. It says it's spicy chicken at Wendy's, but it's just not the same. And it's like, there's a lot of things that are basically exactly the same, and there's a lot of things that are just not. And like, I go to Popeyes, I'm on the record. I say Popeyes spicy chicken sandwich is the king of the chicken sandwich. And then you go back to Wendy's, you're like, man, you used to be good. You just don't have it right now. And actually, the reason I can't say the current chicken sandwich, because they re-released it because they knew they were slacking.
Yeah.
And it's actually a little better. But I can even say the current spicy chicken sandwich at Wendy's, it's all right. It's just not the OG.
That's a good one, Clem, because for me, I'm also thinking about that from my perspective. I'm like, you guys have the pretzel buns in the back. Why aren't you letting us use them? What I mean? I'm like, you got the pretzel buns back there. Bring out the Luke Skywalker pretzel bun. We got to try the Burger King items too. I might go tomorrow just to make a video. They've got the Grogu garlic fries. They've got the barbecue bounty burger. I think I'm going to have to try those. I think I said it last week, but I can't let this come and go without trying the Star Wars fast food items.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They
got the cups too. The cups look cool. I kind of want those cups.
They got some cool looking cups. And so, yeah. And then I have 2 other questions for you, Bob.
Okay. What are the questions?
1, what medal is Dave Filoni after this movie? He was the golden child going into this movie. Like,
I feel like he probably gets a slight downgrade because I think the narrative coming out of this will kind of be like, and I think Gooch tweeted this, like, is Dave Filoni's vision for Star Wars right for live action Star Wars? He crushes animation. He's never let us down with animation, really. But it kind of felt like this was an animated movie that was just translated to live action in a lot of respects. And when I said like the cutoff, like kind of felt like episode 1 was the intro to him getting the Rada mission, him meeting Rada. Episode 2 was him breaking Rada out. Episode 3 was the Embo stuff and him getting poisoned. Episode 4 was Grogu taking care of him, and the finale. So like, it kind of felt like weird pacing and structure wise. I think he's maybe the silver child with but only slightly. Like, I'm not like, he's definitely not down 2 ranks to bronze in my eyes, but he's not the platinum child after this. It would have taken like a movie that I loved as much as The Force Awakens or Rogue One or The Last Jedi for him to be upgraded. Yeah, I'm gonna say he's the silver child now, and he has potential to go up for sure. Because I mean, he just gave us Maul Shadow Lord this year, which I fucking loved.
That's true, and you have to add that into the equation for the entire breadth of work. But yeah, I think anything less than an 8 out of 10 or 4 out of 5 balls, I think you do have to downgrade the medal. I'll give him silver child, but he has flex of gold flex.
Yeah,
still Filoni,
he's got the flex. Yeah,
but that's actually I didn't see Gucci.
I'm not personally like, I'm not leaving it going like I'm down on Filoni, but like I'm leaving it certainly being like, I don't know, it's the first Star Wars movie in 7 years, and that's what you trotted out. Like, this should have been something huge, and it makes me think Starfighter next year better be fucking great, because you don't want to slip into the Marvel realm where a lot of the Marvel movies released in this phase, like, I genuinely liked, but the general public's idea of them was they were okay. And you can't have a couple okay Star Wars movies in a row. Star Wars should still feel like a bigger cinematic event to me than a Marvel movie. We have 30 Marvel movies. We don't have that many Star Wars movies. It should be huge, especially when TV is pretty good for Star Wars. Like, you have to do better than the TV shows.
Like, when Star Wars comes out, the other movies should be running for the hills, right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck, we have a Star Wars movie out, especially for the kids. It shouldn't be like, well, Sheep Detectives might take my dollars that weekend.
It's Memorial Day weekend, dude.
That's not good, man.
And we're talking about, like, at least they kept the budget down so they'll make their money back. It's like, it's Star Wars. We're talking about they'll make their money back because they kept the budget down. It's Star Wars. This movie should have made $1 billion. It's the Baby Yoda movie. And it's not going to come close to that.
At some point, and listen, I'm not here to get into an argument here because my team is no great shakes, but like, there is a point when the Yankees stop being the Yankees. And honestly, the Dodgers are now the Yankees, Bob. Come on. When there's a free agent, do you go, up, he's going to the Yankees? No, you go, up, he's going to the Dodgers, right? Yeah. And they just print money and they print World Series banners. That's what they do now. Unfortunately, listen, the Mets are trying to become either of them, and they're failing at both. I can really admit that. And like,
the Mets are the master of the universe franchise.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And at this point, I'm like, I just want them to just be like, yo, you're Star Wars, get your shit together. I didn't hear that Gooch quote about it, but like, it does kind of make sense. It's like, you do, like, maybe like, as I'm like thinking, like with Ahsoka, it's like, hyperdrive wells. Okay, it works with cartoons and you have the diehard fan base, but you need to then have someone who could see the vision of getting this to the mainstream. And there was nothing near that in terms of craziness with this movie, but some of his best stuff, I guess, is animated. So that's going to be like can nitpick everybody. Because like Mike Piazza, when he first came to the Mets, I'll just run with my Mets analogy, he batted like 360 his first like month with the Mets, but he didn't have an RBI with a runner in scoring position. So everyone's like, can't hit with runners in scoring position. It's like, people are going to nitpick every little thing until you just put out good product. And once the product's good, and you're fucking Star Wars, man, like, just act like it. So
act like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's on him.
You got Thrawn at your disposal. This could have been an Avengers style team up movie. Like they were teasing Heir to the Empire or whatever. You could have had Boba Fett, Luke, Ahsoka, the Mandalorian, and Grogu, and Bo-Katan with her Darksaber against Thrawn. Like, again, all of those pieces were on the chessboard. You removed them and said, we're going to play a new game we invented using the chessboard.
And honestly, the fact, again, this is the diehard in you. I was just going and being like, I just hope they give me a good movie. We're going to probably get some characters I've met before. But yeah, when you put it like that, it does feel like an opportunity definitely missed. And you know what the worst thing that's going to happen if Star Wars has another miss? You're going to have those little, just pessimistic little worms like Trent being like, oh, I didn't ask for another Star Wars movie. We really want that. And honestly, and now, it's crazy. Did the worm turn? I think that's the expression. Because Marvel now, if Doomsday does hit, like people are starting to say it, they then become the good child.
And Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's supposed to, they're saying Spider-Man's going to be #1 movie this summer. It's going to outdo Minions. It's going to make over $1 billion because the projections and the test screenings are through the roof.
I didn't know
people are saying this is going to be like unbelievable.
I didn't know that. That. It's big time. And you know who's fucking doesn't want to hear that? That little pessimistic wearing Trent. No,
Trent.
Guess what, Trent? They're bringing the fucking thunder to your door now.
Yeah.
You little dweeb.
Peter Parker's going to fucking web up his mouth so he can't be spewing it off at this point.
Hopes Doom blows his face off, too. He has to wear a mask the rest of his life to hide his disfigured face fucking Trent.
Did you have another question? Was there one more question on there?
Last one. You know we do this. I'm going to be doing this at least for another couple months, if not a year. If this movie is a flop or it's just generally underwhelming on the blame meter, what's Kathleen Kennedy's blame pie? How much are we doing here? Is this Kathleen Kennedy's fault, Bob, this movie?
I don't think so. Because this is almost like, do what you want. I'm leaving anyway. You know, like I think she is listed as executive producer on it. But I'm saying this is all on Favreau and Filoni.
I mean, that's what I would say. I think most rational people would say that, but I do think most people are like, she's in the credits. It's her. It's all her fault. They're fine. They're still the golden children. She's the reason that everything went to shit. But yeah, at some point she was probably just like checking the weather on whatever vacation place or wherever, like goddamn island she's going to buy and just live at the rest of her life. She wasn't going to be worrying about all the little things with Mando and Grogu. So I think blame pie, I mean, or 1 to 10, I think like a 2. I guess you could say like she put her body in front of it if she thought it was going to be bad, but and it's not terrible. That's the other thing. It's not like
I was going to say we're like blaming people for what I'm calling a good movie.
That's right. Yeah.
It is weird. It's like I don't want people to leave this review being like they fucking hated the movie. I can't believe they hated it. We didn't hate it. We just wanted a little bit more out of it, and I think it's fair to expect that out of the Star Wars franchise on the big screen, especially after we've spent 7 years away from it. Favreau did say, I saw a quote with him where he was like, 12-year-olds probably weren't going to see Star Wars movies in the theater 7 years ago. So this is a movie for them. And when it comes down to it, George Lucas made Star Wars for 12-year-olds. He really did. And he injected a lot of real life commentary. There's Vietnam commentary. There's World War II commentary and whatnot in it. But at the end of the day, it's a movie for kids. And I think this movie is going to work for kids. I just don't know if it's going to inspire the, oh my God, I have to play with these figures in my sandbox the same way it did in me with the prequels, with the originals, obviously. It might. And it really might. I might be like completely off base here. Because like I said, the ship designs, the character designs, the droid designs, the alien designs, they were fucking sick. And I would probably want toys of all of them if I were little.
And some of those scenes do hit. Some of those scenes do.
Yeah.
Hit. Say, like,
some of the action scenes for sure. Maybe if you're a kid and this hits Disney Plus, you'll fast forward through some of the Warlord exposition scenes, but you will want to watch the AT-AT scene over and over again. Like I wanted to watch Duel of the Fates over and over again. We'll see. We'll see when this comes out. Again, it's Tuesday. We're recording this not knowing how the general public is going to react. And we're recording episode 500, not knowing how episode 499.75 is going to go with the boys finale. That could be a train wreck to the levels where we go, man, thank God the Mando movie wasn't anything like the boys finale. I don't know. It's weird to compare the two, but we'll see. We'll see. If you're listening to this and you listen to our boys recap already, you may know. You may know our opinions and you're time traveling a little bit with us here, but yeah, that's all I had on Mando and Grogu pretty much. I don't think I had any other notes.
That's pretty much it. Again, I said to you when we left the theater, I said, this is going to probably leave some people underwhelmed. And then I feel like we already knew the boys was heading down that path in terms of underwhelming people, or people were flat. I mean, at this point, the memes online are just cruel and they're ripping it apart. It's basically we're in Thrones final season. And the angry side of Stranger Things. So it's like this with that felt like, man, we're just taking some L's in the basement. But like you said, we do have Spider-Man coming. The Lantern preview looked good. The trailer, obviously Doomsday. So we have Dune as well. And, a couple other things popping up. But I do feel like this is a little bit of a speed bump here, but I think it'll be all right. My biggest fear is I do think, what is it? Starfighter's name, right?
Yeah.
I feel like if they don't hit with that, I think people will then adjust what they expect from Star Wars in the movie theaters, which is not a good thing.
That's my biggest fear. Yeah.
Yes. And I don't think you want to be there because then you open up for the trends of the world to really just be nasty little negative Nancy's.
And I think there's a chance, like it's a Sean Levy movie. We love him. It's not featuring any characters we know, which is a little concerning. And it's a story about a gifted guy taking a gifted child through, getting him through dangers safely. Like it's a storyline that they keep going back to in Star Wars, which is also a little bit worrisome, but it features a lot of lightsabers, features action scenes that Tom Cruise directed. There's like certainly aspects. There's rumors that maybe he's bringing her to Rey's Jedi Temple. That would certainly push lore forward at least and be like, okay, this is where we're going with Star Wars. I still have hope about that, as I do with all Star Wars projects. Hope is injected into me no matter what. But it's definitely a movie where we need a big hit now. We don't need a single. We don't need a double. It's the bottom of the ninth, and we could use a home run to tie the game at this point, I would say. And then you could do what you want afterwards. But we're in an interesting spot here. Interesting spot for the Star Wars universe and for the My Mom's Basement universe, I suppose. I told you I'll try to hit up Jose and see if he's around next week, because I feel like if The Boys is a really negative episode, which it could be. I don't know yet. I'm still waiting to see the episode. I think Jose could bring the vibes up in the basement. If we get him here to break down maybe what they're going to do in Spider-Man, maybe some of the things they could do in Lanterns. I feel like Jose is always just a positive force in the basement.
Yeah, hype machine. Unless you're getting like the bad stuff, and he's like, "Oh, this guy or this this run was terrible," but we'll get him. And I said we'll get, even though this franchise I think has left a little people confused because it's been so long. But we get Brandon Clancy in, who just will break down everything about what happened and what is going to happen in House of the Dragon, and like everything you need to know going into it, because that is a chance to potentially give us a good ride too. Because I think people have forgotten that. Other than like the what's our guy, Matthew Smith guy, Darren, like his like Damon just living in that house. Like there were a couple great things that happened in that season, and I do think, and we're gonna have a battle pretty much off the jump. It seems there's a chance we're just going in 2 feet. We don't even see that this is going to be an absolute smash for us. So Brennan is, I really just check out his YouTubes. They're awesome with all the maps. I just love hearing him talk about Thrones and all that stuff. So Jose, him, a little bit of a breath mint moving forward. And then again, we're going Hot D, we're going Spider-Man, and it keeps on rolling throughout the summer.
There we go. Episode 500, Clem's birthday special. Make sure to tweet Clem a big happy birthday. It's his big 3-0. And
that's right, Bob.
We will talk to you guys next week. This is the way, or was it?